Hey guys, welcome to your last day on the essay. This is your final draft day. I'm so sad and so sorry that I can't be here today. I'm super grateful that Brian can. So when you open our class, you will scroll down to the American Lit Unit 1, Writing Freedom, where we will be for the rest of the semester. Scroll down to our black folder where we've been working on the essay this whole time. Scroll down to the very bottom of this. Find step 5. This is where we are today. You start by discussing the final draft to figure out where you need to revise it to make it epic, and then you do step 5. So step 5 is the final draft. I have already given you feedback if you shared your first draft with me on Friday. So I've opened that document, given you feedback. If you like the feedback, click the check mark. If you don't want to use the feedback, click the X. Obviously, the feedback I gave you is the same feedback I would give you while I was grading it, so it will benefit you to use it. When you are done looking through my comments, look through these check boxes. This is on step 5. The check boxes will help you to know everything you need to get a good grade on this assignment. You need to have a killer introduction that clarifies your claim precisely. So you are going to need to have an introduction that clarifies whether you think the preamble or that Declaration of Independence statement is more, what's our word? Compelling. That's right. So you'll need to say whether it's more compelling in your first paragraph to get full points there. You'll need to obviously distinguish that claim from the opposing claim by stating it's more compelling than the preamble, because other claims would say the preamble is more compelling than the Declaration of Independence. You'll need to provide a conclusion that follows that argument. So by the time you get to your conclusion, you should be able to clearly say that, yes, the document you said is more compelling is in fact more compelling. Then you need to establish a logical organization that develops throughout your essay to show, yes, the one I said is more compelling is more compelling. Look at this evidence. Look at this evidence. Obviously, it's more compelling. And don't forget that you'll want to probably establish a counterclaim, which is this check mark here, to say, yes, some people might think that the preamble is more compelling, but here's where they're wrong, right? Don't forget, you'll also want to use word phrases and clauses to clarify the relationships between and among ideas. So if you're contrasting two things, you might want to say, this happens, but, that's a contrasting word, right? But this happens. Or if you're saying two things go together, then you might want to use, therefore, this, So make sure you're using words that clarify whether you think things are working together to prove a point or going against each other. Then, as mentioned, you do want to name your counterclaim. If you're saying the Declaration of Independence is more compelling, then the counterclaim is going to be then that the preamble is more compelling. You'll want to name that and weaken it. We've talked a lot about that. Feel free to ask Brian for help there. You're welcome, Brian. You also want to provide adequate examples of each major idea. So if you're saying the Declaration of Independence is more compelling, you're going to want to clarify what it says and how each example goes back to what it says. So if I say the civil rights movement was inspired by the Declaration of Independence, I'm going to want to say, because the Declaration of Independence says that all men are created equal, and the civil rights movement then is based on the Declaration of Independence and the fact that all men are created equal, right? So see how that evidence of the civil rights movement goes back to the document, Declaration of Independence, so that I'm continually proving my thesis even as I use examples. If you struggled with this in your first draft, I already gave you ideas on where you personally can go on that. Just make sure that you're paying attention to your evidence and how it goes back to the document you're arguing for. Make sure that you then use word choices and rhetorical devices effectively. You're trying to convince your audience, so maybe you want to use some rhetorical questions. Maybe you want to mention a paradox. One killer paradox is that our country is based on freedom, but are you truly free if you're a slave? There's a paradox. Okay, moving on. You need to establish and maintain a formal style and objective tone. If you are using the word I, get rid of it and state the rest of the statement like it's true. So if you say, I think police brutality is not demonstrating what the preamble states as justice, great. Get rid of the I think part and just say it like it's true. Police brutality is not exemplifying the justice named in the preamble. Boom. You said your statement, you just took out the part that weakens it. The part that weakens it is going to be I think, I believe. Don't say those things, just say them like they're true. Then lastly, make sure that you are editing as you go. Once you finish your draft today, look through it, read your sentences. Make sure you're capitalizing things. I noticed a lot of people are not capitalizing the Declaration of Independence. They're not capitalizing America. Make sure you're capitalizing those things. Those are names. If you are naming any people or authors, those get capitalized too. First and last names. So once you've gone through this checklist, you feel like you've done an exemplary job, you feel like you knocked it out of the park, then you submit your assignment here. This is where you get 100 points for submitting your final draft. Those of you who are freaking out because you're like, oh snap, I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish this in class today because it is due by the end of class today. You are welcome to submit it by 3:20 today, or come in and check in with me after school. I will be back in the building after school. You're welcome to chat with me then. So if you have any questions, let me know. Hopefully this video was super helpful for you. My intention is to spend the entire day working on this. The way that we've done it in other classes is work for 30 minutes, then take a 5-minute math break, then work for the rest. All right? Good luck, people. I'm sorry I can't be there. Miss you. See you soon.